So, hello everyone. Welcome back to our third session of Agriculture Roundtable on inputs. So, today we'll be talking about a very important topic which has been discussed across the globe and India for sure. That's biological for agriculture. Just doing a small mic check. Neeraj, am I visible as well as am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. So if we see in the last century, the agriculture was built on chemistry and mechanics. The next one will be built on biology and intelligence. And biological sit right at the forefront of this. Globally, agriculture biologicals, whether we talk about biopesticides, stimulants, biofertilizer, and other bio-based inputs, are no longer a niche category. If we go by recent estimates, the global agriculture biological market stands at something between USD 18 to $19 billion, and it is projected to grow in a double-digit CAGR, outpacing the conventional agrochemicals, driven by regulatory pressures of synthetic and demand for residue-free food. India is very much part of this shift. Depending on how you define the segment, the estimates for Indian biological market in 2025 range from USD $500 million going all the way to $1 billion. With current growth rate, again, they're pretty high, so 10 to 14% across different segments of biologicals. So we are talking about a segment that is still low single-digit share of total agriculture input market, but is the fastest growing segment in the sector. A critical pillar of any serious move towards regenerative climate resilient agriculture is driven by biologicals. Now, why this is happening? So, regulators around the world are tightening the norms on synthetic chemistries. The global crop protection market is under pressure to lower the residues, manage the resistance, and reduce environmental impacts. In fact, we had day before yesterday a good discussion on agrochemicals, and there also majority of stakeholders were very upbeat about biologicals. So the large companies, whether we talk about buyers, Syngentas, FMCs of the world, they're also looking very positively towards biologicals. Consumers are also asking tougher question about what's on their plate, whether it is organic, whether it is residue-free, whether it is pesticide-safe. So that segment is also expanding rapidly. Now, coming to the last but not least, and the most important stakeholder, the farmers, they are also facing the challenges around soil fatigue, water stress, and declining responsiveness to traditional input regimes, and are increasingly open and sometimes even desperate for solutions that help them to do more with less. Now, biologicals sit at the intersection of all these pressures because they promise better nutrient use efficiency, improve root architecture and stress tolerance, targeted pest and disease suppression with lower ecological footprint, and in some models, the ability to monetize ecosystem services itself, especially when we talk about carbon or biodiversity angles. At the same time, we must be honest about the challenges too. The shelf life, consistency of field performance, farmer and retailer misconception, counterfeits of substandard products, and regulatory ambiguities are real and present risks. A recent industry conversation in India flagged exactly these barriers. The regulatory delays and farmer ignorance are slowing adoption, even as leaders expect agriculture biologicals to grow continuously for more than a decade in a double digit. So this is not a simple good guy versus bad guy story where biological magically replace everything else. The real question is how do we integrate biologicals intelligently into existing input baskets alongside fertilizers, seeds, crop protection to create a more resilient and circular and profitable farming system. To unpack, we are having a stellar panel today. So we have Renuka Diwan, she's CEO of Bioprime, and she will bring us and the perspective of someone who has been on the scientific side of it, created the company as an entrepreneur, and look at the ecosystem challenges and the barriers. Then we are having Satyam Bose. He's a chairman and CEO at VIRENXIA Group, and he works on intersection of system thinking, sustainability, and regenerative models. Again, very interesting model, and he has been active in Asia as well as in Middle East. We also have Mr. Chakrapani, Ruddraramker. He's a founder at UL Biotech PT Limited, a Singapore-based company. And we'll talk to him about the world of strains, fermentation, formulation, manufacturing, because that is the area which he excels. Then we are having Mr. VIKAS CHANDAK. He is CEO of biologicals at Grow Indigo. Again, there is like Grow Indigo is a pretty early mover in the segment, and we will talk to him because of his expertise in go-to-market and agronomy lens. Mr. Dr. Prafull Gadge, CEO at Biome Technology Private Limited, is also joining us. He is having strong grounding in soil biology and microbial science. Mr. Gadge has been seen extensively on social media, engaging with the farmers and trying to provide, I would say, non-governmental extension services, predominantly around biological, soil health metrics, and emerging domains like microbiome engineering to farmers in easy to understand language. And last but not the least, we are having Mr. Vipin Saini. He is a CEO of BASAI Agri, and he is the forefront of discussion around policy, standard, industry coordination. And again, we'll reach out to him to understand how the regulatory aspect of biologicals is evolving. Now, with these eminent experts, we will try to cover the why, the where, and what of biologicals. So, can we have all the panelists with their videos on? Perfect. So everyone is here. Thanks a lot. We are having indeed a great panel. And I would like to start first with you, Renuka. Right. We have seen that the biologicals promises in improved nutrient efficiency and stress tolerance, and that has been now been seen across industry as well as most of the stakeholders as a given. In your experience, what biological modes of action show the most consistent and result across varied Indian soil and agrochemical conditions?
Hi, Deepak. Thank you for having us here on the panel today. A very, very important topic indeed. Biologicals, which is, like you very rightly mentioned, becoming a mainstay in agriculture, becoming a must have product for the farmers, especially due to the climate change and the requirement from the consumers themselves. Traditionally, biostimulants or traditionally the biologicals, um, the composition wise, have been very loosely defined without having a direct emphasis or direct characterization on its active ingredients. So, what farmers experienced was, though they definitely saw the results, they definitely saw some kind of variations creeping in, primarily because of the nature of the biostimulants or the biologicals themselves, because we have to be aware that all of this is derived from a living source. And once we are talking about a living source, whether it's a seaweed or a botanical, depending upon where it is growing, how it is growing, what kind of environment it is exposed to, its internal chemical composition changes. And if that changes, the age of the plant is different, the age of the seaweed is different, the kind of actives that you get in your composition also changes. So if we are defining our biologicals basis 10% plant extract, 12% seaweed extract, it really doesn't give the farmers or even the evaluators an understanding of exactly what is to be expected. There are several modes of actions for different kinds of stress tolerance or nutrient use efficiency. What we've seen that works, really consistently across different crops and across different, I would say, geographies or climatic conditions, soil types, etc., is for stress tolerance having a very, very good antioxidant potential. And by having a good antioxidant potential, I don't mean just taking the extract and characterizing its antioxidant potential. Upon application of your solution, what is the impact within the plant to scavenge the oxygen or the reactive oxygen species? That is something that very few people, kind of focus on. It's very important because when there is any kind of stress, we will see a marked increase in reactive oxygen species. If that remains uncontrolled, then we see damage in the membranes that come about. So maintaining membrane stability or agents that can confer membrane stability work very well in all kinds of stress, especially heat stress, salinity stress, or drought stress. And when we're talking about nutrient use efficiency, um, there are three aspects to nutrient use efficiency. One is availability part, where most of the solutions cater that of what we have applied, how much is still in the available form. So one is to keep the nutrients in the more available form. Second and the third bottleneck are something where very few people work in, which is the uptake, that is of what is available, what can be taken up by the plants, and of what is taken up, what can be used by the plants. So there are actually three bottlenecks. And so what gives very consistent results is uplifting or upregulating the transporter genes for the uptake and utilization of these minerals. Availability is something that can be a function of the soil, water, pH as well. So that is something that is, I think, broadly catered by a lot of solutions out there. Even slow release fertilizers cater to availability part as well. So from what we have seen, these two, three modes of action perform really, really well across different crops. And therefore, focusing your discovery programs or your discovery efforts to find the best kind of biochemicals that enhance these activities would be a very, very good starting point.
No, excellent intervention. And again, I would also like to understand from you that when we talk about such innovations, which we had just talked about, right? In India, where are we? Right? Because end of the day, very recently when I was engaging with different stakeholders, the capability of working on the real grassroots technology, the science-based grassroots, because what we talk is pure science, right? It's not business models. It is not about jargons. It is just pure science. Are we having, yes, I know Bioprime has been doing that, but other than Bioprime, do you see that actually we are having those type of capabilities within India?
I would definitely like to say yes, because we see that the entire sector is being pushed forward by more science-driven companies coming into the picture. Globally, also, we are seeing a lot of companies focus on real hardcore science with very targeted discovery programs, something that is equivalent to what you would see in a pharma drug discovery program. So they're that targeted, very focus oriented, very pursuing validation in a very, very systematic manner. So I think whether we are ready for it or not, but the future definitely belongs to this kind of approach and this kind of discovery led innovations. But you very rightly said, at the end of the day, no matter how much technology we deploy, or no matter how brilliantly we are running our discovery programs, at the end of the day, if we lose focus on what remains affordable, what remains adaptable for the farmer, none of this is going to work. So even at the starting point of the discovery programs, we have to be very, very cognizant about how the farmer is going to use it, when the farmer is going to use it, at what price points it will work for the farmer, at what price points it becomes something that the farmer can absolutely not deploy. So the mindfulness in the research, programs is also very important.
Perfect. Now I'll go to you, because Renuka rightly mentioned about farmer adopting it. End of the day, we can create Taj Mahal, but if you don't get a Mumtaz, right, then it doesn't get the mileage it is getting today. So because actually with your experience, right, which are the key areas where you see that adoption of biological become, I would say, very important. Whether it is about the climate resilience, whether it is about the pest tolerant to some of the existing agrochemicals, or the environmental footprint. So what according to you would drive the farmer to pick that bottle of biological?
So hi everyone, Vikas here. So from a farmer perspective, changing consumer demand is one of the major thing. Farmers, we all know, have been protecting some part of his land to cultivate crops that would be consumed by his family, which he is well aware that that is the safest thing to do. It is residue free. It is full of nutrition. So it's not about the knowledge that he does not have it. It's about the way we approach it. We have been all along communicating that the chemicals are the way forward, and it was needed when green revolution was there, because chemical, most of the varieties were very adaptive to high chemical applications, and they were beautifully uplifting the nutrition. But over a period, we compromised on application of basic organic manure, and maybe the starting point happens to reclaim the soil, to bring it that balance in the soil, microflora with organic matter addition should be the starting point for me. Like, no, if that is done beautifully, then the response to whatever you mentioned, whether it is stress, whether it is environment, is automatic, because it's the entire thing revolves around rhizosphere and the soil, which nourishes this rhizosphere. So to me, the impact has to be in soil. Farmer is very well aware of it. It's up to how do we make him understand that the cost effectiveness, and instead of making biologicals as enablers, how do we embed them as a regular usage? And maybe get him recall that you used to do this. You are already doing it for some part of your land, but maybe by practicing it over the entire land, the things changes for you. So for me, go-to-market starts with soil, seed, and then obviously the sprays and other thing follow.
Perfect. So because I totally agree with you. So when I was engaging with farmers at the grassroots in the farms and all that, they will pack up like some beautiful brinjals and peas and all that for me. And long back, I'm saying that maybe a decade back, I asked them actually, like, I can take it from the market, all these things. Don't be inconvenienced, because actually I don't want to do it, because they are not generally, farmers are so kind. They don't want to take money from you. So the idea was that actually, like, why to make them even lose, like, for 3, 4, 5 kgs, they would be putting in my car. एंड ही सेड साहब ये खा के देखिएगा, उसके बाद आपको फर्क मालूम पड़ेगा कि एक्चुअली असली सब्जी और फल क्या होते हैं. एंड बिलीव मी, लाइक they were the gorgeous food, and with the taste. And now coming back, like the same thing, farmer understand it, but end of the day he also is in back of the mind a profitability. He is not someone actually who is putting all these pesticide because he is greedy. He is putting because actually he has to maintain and ensure, like, he's profitable. How do we see that actually the communication, right sort of communication can be enabled? Because see, looking at 1% and 1.5% of, like, market share of this product, it doesn't like, look like something which is credible enough, right? And at the same time, like, I think the messaging is a problem, because I've seen the extension workers at the grassroots level, right, when they're selling biologicals, right, they are not as, I would say, smart as those who are selling agrochemicals. And secondly, the farmer believes in, like, visibility, right? When you apply a chemical, suddenly you know that actually whatever it's a stem borer or whatever, right, will disappear in a couple of days, and you'll see again the greening of your farm. Doesn't happen in biological. How do we convey these messages, and then how you have been successful doing that?
So Deepak, you had you already answered the question as well, at the question which you was so knowledge was the first part of the answer. The team training, team being readiness, team's readiness to go to ground at the right time. As Renuka mentioned, the timing is very critical. So if something is added on right time, and to get the result, the repeat visit is must. It is not about like chemical, you will get it in 48 hours or 24 hours. So farmer will see for it himself that the results are visible. The training of the team to go after 7 days, say mycorrhiza is applied going after 25 days, helping them uproot the crop, showing that this is the impact that has been created. This would culminate into this is the additional tiller which has come because the plant is healthy. It's all about displaying on ground. And once that happens regularly for a couple of years or 3 years, we have seen the loyalty coming back for the product. Mycorrhiza is one classic example which you talk to any farmer would be knowing why he has to apply. So no, for me, that's a lesson that if farmer can across the world can adopt mycorrhiza, all others biologicals can be adopted if they are pitched in the right sense and the right timing of result application, and the result is shared with them. So he has, prophylactic obviously is the way forward for biological. You have to do it way beyond. It's like start at the early ETL level, and then you are able to control it. But if you delay it beyond a point, then maybe biologicals are slow moving for now, but there are technologies which are coming where biologicals can make impact. You have compatible microbes with chemicals, so you can bundle with chemicals. So maybe initial phase of the time, chemical takes care, then biological takes it over from there. So there are ways that the science is evolving, farmers are evolving. So for me, things are progressing fast, and that is where we are seeing the highest growth rate in biological adoption as well.
No, I totally agree. In fact, I've had one experience. A large multinational company, like US-based company, they wanted to enter India, and they said actually we advise us on getting into the distribution channel. I said it is not going to fly, and it's not first distribution; it's first your team, and actually the messaging has to go at the grassroots level. So I would be more happy to consult you in creating your team and making a right messaging for them. And they said that this guy is stupid, he's wasting our time. They got into somewhere, and after 1.5 years, they came back to me and they said that actually what you were saying is right. Let's do it. So as you rightly said, that this is dispensation of knowledge. That's very important. So I'll go to Satyamji next. So Satyamji, you work on intersection of pretty, I'll say, the complex ideas: sustainability, design thinking, regenerative agriculture, right? We would like to understand from you that, these complex things, how you are able to dovetail them in such a easy way that, you have been scaling pretty well. So, what is the secret recipe behind that? So you are on mute. So you have to unmute yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, 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 loud and clear.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Deepak, for inviting me over and in such an august panel. I hope I live up to the panel. So the issue is that we approach agriculture in a very simple form. We try to mimic nature. And suppose you have to go to a dense is thriving over there. The flora, the fauna, everything thrives over there. And if you understand it and if you can mimic it into your system, I'm sorry, I lost Deepak.
No, I'm this, Satyamji, because your internet bandwidth was going down. So that's why I stopped the video so that the
Okay,
audience
no,
can. Yeah, yeah.
no worries, no worries. So the thing is that, so what we understood is that the fundamental governing principles of nature is circularity, uh, balance, diversity, and interdependence. So these are the four fundamental governing principles. And if you can somehow bring this into the systems that you are creating around agriculture, I think most of the issues get solved. And herein, if you see, when you're talking of the biologicals cannot be put in one broad. There are biologicals on the nutrition side and there are biologicals on the protection side. So, and unfortunately, today, when you talk about the biological market, it is highly lopsided. The protection side is almost 3/4 of the market, global market. So, in other words, you are trying to say that you cannot grow healthy crops with the help of biological, and therefore you require too much of protection. So, what we did is, again, going back to the nature, what we saw is that if you do your nutrition well, and if you bring in the health and the immunity of the vegetation, the plant or the trees, whatever you're growing, your dependence, you don't require crop protection. In our system, we don't require crop protection. It is all completely nutrition based. And the immunity levels of the crops become so high that you don't require crop protection at all. And all these abiotic and biotic stresses can be managed through immunity elicitors. And hence, we have created the system in a way that where we are creating the nature's habitat, the way nature would design it for us. So biologicals alone cannot function without ensuring that the soil has got enough carbon and organic matter, that the soil structure is good enough for gas exchange, and capillary actions of water. And so therefore the habitat building is what we go into. That's why we have to take a systemic and holistic approach to this entire thing. And we go into, and moment you go into this, what happens is that you find that, like in the conventional your synthetic agriculture, what you see is that huge amount of wastage is there, because whatever nutrition that you put in, nobody knows. Somebody claims it is 30%, which is actually the crop does uptake, or in our when we did our own thing, actually the crop's nutrient uptake maybe even falls to even 15%, which it actually requires for its own growth and its health. And therefore, what we did is actually the nature science is very frugal. It's very frugal in nature, and it doesn't require so much, because in the conventional agriculture, the huge amount of waste through runoff, through runoff, through volatilization, through where the even it goes down into the groundwater systems through leaching, and hence a very only 15 to 30% is actually uptake by this thing. So what we created was a system. When you look at it as a system and you look at it holistically, very little is required to have very high yielding and high quality outcomes. Over to you, Deepak.
Fair enough. Now I will like to go to the elephant in the room. We have gone through half of our participants. So Saini, over to you. Right, we talked a lot about India becoming eventually a leader in biologicals. But of late, what we are seeing, I would say that on the regulatory aspect, on the policy aspect, there have been certain challenges. While I would not question the intention of the government intention is to ensure that good biological reaches the end user. But in a way, it has been structured. It looks like it can stifle off the innovation. And then we eventually have the biologicals which are tested in the wild west, right? Can be adopted easily in India rather than actually be putting our own innovation around it. That was also a question I asked Renuka, that if there is a sufficient science-based activity happening in India, rather than incentivizing it, why we are trying to stifle it up and at the same time, the common playing field, right? Initial era of chemical or agrochemical, we give a lot of leniency for that industry to develop. But it doesn't seem that actually the same is the thought process when it comes to biological. Your intervention and your views on this, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Deepak, and a warm welcome to all the fellow panelists. Uh, See, one thing you need to understand that science-based companies are arising in India, like Renuka rightly said. There, with this startup culture coming across, a lot of youngsters have been given the opportunity. There's a lot of finance being input into it, and things are developing. They're all very well educated, I can say, and they are masters in their own fields. But one thing I'd like to just place over here, that why isn't it just picking up in the country? Now, you need to understand something. The government of India, I'm giving you a policy perspective now. The government of India has been promoting IPM since the mid 1980s, right? And biologicals were the prime focus of that. Now, the time and the 4 decades back, what I'm talking about, there were very few biologicals in the market. Why? One was because it was just after the Green Revolution, the success of the Green Revolution that was taking place, and therefore agrochemicals were primary over there. I can recall a circular from the Department of Agriculture at that point of time promoting, stating that BTI and BTS should be promoted in the country. Fast registration should be given. And that was exactly what is happening. But we didn't have that kind of companies at that point of time. And most of these things were being imported. Now it's a reverse case. Now the reverse case is that now you have got companies and you've forgotten to promote IPM at this period, because for the past 4 decades you've been doing so, and now you have got no faith left in that. You understand? So coming back to what Vikas Chandak also said, that it's difficult to promote that thing, and IPM was already there. The only thing was the push and the knockdown effect of agrochemicals that overtook the biologicals. Now, as far as a policy thing is that, the government is trying to regulate, let us be very frank with ourselves. We already had the Insecticides Act enacted in 1970s, early 1970s through its rules. And biologicals, I can tell you, biologicals were first introduced, if I'm not mistaken, sometime in 1979 in the country. Okay, so that's the background of biologicals. Now, farmers have been taken across, and I do not agree. I do not agree with the comment that was made that farmers only and only have a small place where they grow food only for themselves, which is pesticide free or so. We all come from a family background. I've seen in my village, I've seen in many other villages, we've also traveled the villages. There are 3 or 4 components of a farmer's land. One is his house. He does a little bit of kitchen gardening over there. Then there's a common pond, the pond in the village. Nearby, just outside the village, every farming house has got half an acre or an acre or so land where they do cultivation for their local vegetables and local needs, just because it's nearby and it's easier to go and come back. And then they have got a farming land which may be even to the extent of 2 to 5 kilometers away from the house where they daily travel across. So now, we are all trying to encashing on the whole situation. The farmers are very well aware of these things. The only thing is that awareness, even since the 1960s, leave around the biologicals for which now we are talking about. Even the agrochemical companies have not been able to teach the farmers what they wanted to do it. It was all company based on their products based. As far as the regulations come into concern, in 1968 we had the Insecticides Act. In 1985 we had the Fertilizer Control Act, and if I'm not wrong, it was only till the mid 1990s that biofertilizers were first registered in the country. Now, the major problem which was facing the country was the use of certain in the name of biologicals or the name of plant products, which are being laced by biorational chemicals or PGRs and all that kind of stuff. Now that was creating a nuisance, and I've been involved with the government since 2012 when these first cases were there, and they were nowhere to go under regulate under which one. And then finally, one fine day in 2021, the guidelines were notified for these products to be notified as biostimulants. And unfortunately, the kind of level of data that was requested for biostimulants was no less equivalent to what is expected by the Central Insecticide Board and Registration Committee for registering pesticides. And to top everything off, with the introduction of the nanofertilizers in the FCO, that has actually surpassed the pesticide regulatory mechanism, I can tell you. Now, where the government could not handle thing was that the fertilizer control order is just a notified order under the Essentials Commodity Act 1955. They do not have a separate secretariat. They do not have a separate set of experts to look into all these things. And this was given across just to 3-4 people to handle the whole situation. And hence the backlog coming across. We are still facing issues on implementation or regulations to biostimulants. Now, one thing which we normally talk about in various forums over here is that when we talk about biopesticides, we actually mean microbials. That is not the case. Microbials also covers botanical ones which are in nature, and we have totally forgotten them in this whole normal discussions that go across in India. Normally, when we talk biologicals, that means it has to be microbial. Now, the main thing that needs to be ascertained now is that with all the science coming in and everything, and we all understand that a microbial or a biological has got a certain level of expression. At a particular dose, it can express itself as a biofertilizer. As a certain dose, it can, or concentration, it can specify, it can express itself as a biopesticide or a biostimulant. Now, this expression of microbials or biologicals, botanicals, and whatever you want to call them now is hindering the process of regulation because everybody's going into which is the easier route. And that on a policy matter is already been undertaken with the agriculture, with the standing committee, the parliamentary standing committee on agriculture during the oral hearing of the PMB 2020. So this is a slight thing. Just wanted to share this. I believe I was able to answer you correctly, Deepak. I hope so.
No,
I covered
no, no,
everything.
totally I agree with you. So now, actually, one very pertinent point you raise is that the administrator, right,
Yes.
their understanding of the subject
Yes.
is limited, right? While the
Yes.
biological has like huge long history, but the innovation globally has happened very fast. And
Yes.
that is why also like even if you see you go to Europe, they have realized that actually America is taking the thunder out of them. Is while like Netherlands was one of the first country who talked about environmentally sensitive agriculture way back in 2010 and came out with the regulation. But
Yes.
adoption become a big challenge because of the rules and regulations. And hence you find that majority of I would say well valued or scaled up biological companies, they come from all the way from US, right? Now, as an Indian, right, when I think that if I don't have the administrator who understands, right, nuances of even the botanicals and the microbials, right, which should be treated where, and it took us like, really long time to even get the biostimulant being defined. Do you see going forward the regulation can hinder us the growth of this country's biological market?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree. It is all red tapeism until and unless. See, you place something very rightly. Give you an example as the biostimulants. I'll just give you an example. See, the persons who are part of the technical scientific committee of the biostimulants under the Central Biostimulant Committee, they are all academicians. Okay? All academicians. None of them is a regulator. Now, there is a strong differentiation between the mentality and the thinking of an academician and a regulator. Academician will say that, okay, you've given me this, you give me this also there. It will be just working as a PhD thesis. There's never ending game. Whereas in regulatory, the focus of those regulators is these are the checklist, these are the guidelines, these have to be adhered to. If not, if there is a way for a waiver to be given, is there a reasonable scientific justification for that? That is their job. Whereas it is not the same case over here. And as you rightly said, technology grows much faster than regulations. Now, you've stated the US, even the EU is way forward in this thing. But I can tell you, as on date, India has got the maximum biologicals registered, be it the biostimulants, be it anything else, because we have surpassed them. But the only thing again is we are not clear. We are still trying to re-evaluate, as I said, re-evaluate our own judgments, you know. And this will all happens is because which is not the very case in the under the Insecticides Act because as I said, there it's got a separate secretariat, separate regulatory mechanism. Now, when you talk about biofertilizers and biostimulants under the fertilizer control order, here you got the controller of fertilizers who himself is a bureaucrat. I'm being very candid and very honest in this thing. This thing, like the prime thing you wanted to know is whether this thing will hinder the thing. It will hinder because these guys should be kept independent of the whole thing. Even now, if you see, despite biofertilizers coming in, nanofertilizers coming in, biostimulants coming in within the same thing, organic manures coming under the same thing, They are not subsidized. But if you read the FCO, the whole FCO talks about subsidized fertilizers, and hence the penalties and everything come into place. And they are just, see, if you take about the number of fertilized companies, they're few. You can count them. But when you want to count companies with respect to biostimulants and all, they're humongous, humongous. And they need appropriate things going on. The other thing is how we've got the scientific know-how. We've got people like Renuka and Chakrapani over here, and VIKAS, CHANDAK, and everybody, Neeraj and all. Probably they're all involved in innovations, good innovations. They want to bring it up, but the moment they have their regulatory approval, it is open to everybody. And when it is open to everybody, what the government fails to understand, I'll use the word fail, it fails to understand the very importance that that technology for which the product was approved and proven through its efficacy and its safety evaluations, there is a key element to it. If anybody could have made it, anybody could have already made it across. So we don't have data protection. We do not have IPR systems in place. You cannot, patent a microbial itself as such. You can do something processing or some cell-free microbial, but probably not this. So the whole issue lies upon the red tapeism of this country, which needs to be undertaken. As I said earlier, that we have already submitted a proposal to the Parliamentary Standing Committee on behalf of BASAI, that there should be a common kind of legislation for every kind of biological together, irrespective of a biofertilizer, biostimulant, or a biopesticide, because now the time has come that we have got good scientific innovations coming across and good products coming across. And the expression, as I said, of a biological, it all depends upon its concentration and its dose that makes it express itself as it should.
Perfect. Just last question to you. Do you think evaluation through non-government agency, right? Though what I'm saying is could be controversial, right? We see that certificate of origin drives a global trade, right? And the government doesn't issue it. It is always association, a chamber which does that.
Yes.
Do you think this onus of certification and onus of allowing it is beyond the capability of the government and should be outsourced to someone? And even if you see FSI, while it is semi-autonomous, that's why actually it is more effective. Otherwise, if you just keep it under the umbrella of Ministry of Agriculture, right? And Ministry of Ag is also, again, it is under, first of all, I would say contradicting Fertilizer Control Act if you put something, right? And the onus is on fertilizers, right? And then even the thought process is different. Fertilizer, it is FCO because it is, as you rightly mentioned, essential commodities. Secondly, subsidized heavily by the government. We spend 2 lakh crores on fertilizer subsidy. So government does have a say because they spend money. Here, government doesn't spend money, right? They have to be more look as a regulator other than a controller. Do you think this whole maybe government can participate, but it should be outside the ambit of the government to validate such product?
That should be the case. And like you said, that you probably that people may not agree with you. I totally agree, and everybody will be agreeing to it, because third party evaluations can be done. The government can ease out its hand. They've got pretty much other things also to do. Now, if you see how the working of the EPA and other organizations are, they are all hand in gloves. They're all working together with the industry. They've got industry leaders like probably the Renuka over here, Chakrapani. I know they're doing excellent jobs in innovation. So, such people should be part of those bodies in helping out the government and coming across. But unfortunately, what happens is that when we go to, I also work very closely with the government. And why the government has got the issues of working with associations, let me give you a background. I don't have a factory of my own. I don't have a company of my own. I had BASAI. Whereas in many regional associations, which are having the power to percolate the government at various levels through their associations with various MLAs or MPs of their particular states, all of them, are company owners. So therefore, they use their associations to come across, to address their own issues. Whereas certain associations like CropLife India is there, Agrochem Federation is there. I've been associated with both of them. This is my third association that I've formed and I've been able to establish. So, I mean, the thing is very much in abeyance in this thing, because the government feels that if the industry is involved, then they should not be there. Now, I have been involved with biostimulants since its inception in 2017. And there is not a single paper, a single minuted paper of any meeting stating that Vipin Saini from such and such or this organization has provided us inputs. And there is no recognition of any such. Until that thing is there, there cannot be. Now, the other thing and the very prime thing that you said was the FCO and the Insecticides Act. Both are primarily under the Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers. But the administrative use of those acts lie with the Ministry of Agriculture. So, there are two, the ministries actually, trying to fight amongst each other. Who's going to do what? Though Ministry of Agriculture has taken the onus of administration, but then if something has to be done, it has to be done from there. And if one ministry does it, the other doesn't agree. And frankly speaking, very unfortunate again. And I don't know, and I'm sure all of you must have experienced it. If there is any program organized by the Ministry of Chemicals, you'll rarely find a presence of Ministry of Agriculture and vice versa. I know where there were ministers involved from Ministry of Chemicals and our minister had to come from Agriculture. No. They sent the secretary. He was there for 10-15 minutes during the inaugural. And okay, sir, thank you very much. I have another meeting. And this is not how the nation is run. So unless the bodies together, Niti Aayog says something else, INM says something else, Fertilizer Ministry says something else, Insecticides Act says something else. All these things, unless there's a harmonization way of thinking and respecting each other, this could have been achieved. And let me give you another example. This is my last thing. This can be achieved if you study the present scenario. The Agriculture Commissioner of our country is the chairperson of the Central Fertilizer Committee. He is the chairperson of the Central Biostimulant Committee, and he is the chairman of the Registration Committee. He is one person who understands the whole gamut of scenario that needs to be done. But in the fertilizer area and the biostimulants area, he is superseded by the Joint Secretary INM, and he cannot do anything despite his rank, his ability to do so. That red tapeism has to be removed, and already movement has started across, at least BASAI has, I can openly say BASAI has started this thing. We are trying to rope in other associations also. But until or unless we don't work on our less interference from the red tapeism that is provided or placed in by the bureaucracy, and we do not dissolve the competition or the respect for a bureaucrat, for a technocrat, and the technocrat for the bureaucrat, it's going to be a hard way on. Whatever you want to say, frankly speaking, it's a hard way on. Ease of doing business was far better when the slogan ease of doing was not there, and ease of doing business was practically being handled across. So yeah, that's my 2 bits on it, Deepak. Thank you.
No, thanks a lot. I totally appreciate your frank opinion. Coming to you, Chakrapani ji, right? You have been also someone who has been struggling for a long time, right? In the sector, I've been engaging with you for a really long time, and some of the innovation, has been really awesome. Now, based on the cropping system in India, right? How do you see going forward? The technology evolving. Are we looking at technologies which are, I would say, more on the microbial side, more on the botanical side, which area you believe the market would be better aligned when you see Indian context?
See the thank you, Deepak. Uh, See, we are in this business from last 20 years. So the biologicals evolution, when we started working on the new technologies, there was no regulation, nothing. Now the regulation which Vipin said, instead of encouraging the global, instead of addressing the global issues, the regulatory has become the major global issue. Okay, so the that's something which everybody is going through it. When it comes back to the biologicals, right? See, usually, when we say biological, the per se people think the microbes, and then when you say the microbes, you try to use in the degraded soil, right? It doesn't work. And second thing is, the microbes are not many of the microbes which are not compatible with the existing crop nutrient scheme. So most of them will get deactivated. See something like Vikas mentioned, the mycorrhizia. There are few strains which are robust and works in the wide pH, wide temperature, tolerant to the heavy metals. But if you look at the present scenario, the way the biologicals are being promoted as without understanding the compatibility, always there is the market saying it doesn't work. How UAL works is to overcome these challenges. So the way we work is we use microbes. Of course, it's required inoculant. We use it. Microbes, enzyme plus IPM. IPM could be biological. IPM could be biologicals or the botanical extract or the biopesticides. As a whole package, if you make it plug and play, ease of use, then only it can, we can provide an alternative platform to the farmers or the users without compromising on the yield or the cost. This is something, this is something we face every day. Other things is, the people, like when we say the technology is evolving, or in India the biotech is raising. It's again, the when we talk about the microbes or the strain bank, everybody has their own strain bank, whether it is commercially viable, whether it works in the robust, the requirement of the tropical, the system. It's like you is something, the in India itself the temperature ranges from 15 degree to the 50 to 55 60 degree. So your selection of microbes, your access to the strain bank which are compatible with the chemical fertilizers or the nutrient, if you are offering as an add-on technology. Okay, so these all matters, but we have come out with the technology which is a combination of the microbes and enzymes and the biologicals which are compatible. See, we provide a platform now as a 100% alternative, as well as the people who wants to do the sustainable practice like 50% reduction. So these kind of technologies, then add on with the biological IPM or the botanical extract, as Vipin was saying, we are forgetting the botanical extracts which are there in the market from so many years, right? Which are many of the botanical extracts, when you combine with the enzyme technology, which are very lethal compared to even the pesticide what are available in the market. So all in all, you need a robust technology which addresses the soil to, the soil health, whether from the perspective of the nutrient delivery, and then the disease control. So this is something, possible, provided, again, we go back to the, go back to the first case, that the soil organic matter has to be there. If the biological has to work in the soil, minimum soil organic matter has to be there. Today we are struggling, we are going through the, the organic matter addition to the soil is becoming lower and lower, and some parts of India, like in Andhra Pradesh or Telangana, they say that it has gone down, the organic carbon has gone down to 0.4, 0.5% kind of thing. So in this kind of rundown, degraded soils, anything you try to put in, no. So you have to make a compatible technology where, you can offer just not as a green alternative, you also have to show the ROA to the farmers. Then only it is, this industrial flourish irrespective the regulatory difficulties are there. But we see, the still the people are adopting the technology.
Perfect, perfect. So you touch upon a very important point, Chakrapani ji, right? Talked about soil health. So we are having Dr. Prafull. So Dr. Prafull is one of, I would say, evangelists trying to push for soil health. Prafull ji, are you there?
Yes.
Yeah, great, great. Apologies to coming late to you, but I think the topic which you'll be talking about is very important because three of the speakers talked about soil health. Sir, we understand organic carbon is very important for biological, especially which are working on the root zone, right? But at the same time, everybody talks about soil health. But at the same time, because returns doesn't look very fast, right? The seriousness is not there. And we have seen the serious degradation of soil across the globe, not just India. India is definitely leading it, but across the globe that is happening. Your work has been in that area. We would like to understand from you, right, how we are able to measure, innovate, improve, and then give back soil, which actually definitely gives you a better yields.
Secondly, it's a very crucial and one of the major problems that soil health is getting depleted. But in what terms? We measure it in terms of organic carbon. But what we have analyzed during our study, though the farmers are using organic fertilizers, like trolleys of compost and other things, and even they are not able to work out with the resources. The crops are not able to uplift the nutrients from the soil. This is because of package of practices all along. And one of the important things, though the organic carbon is available, though the chemical fertilizers are used, and even though farmers are supposed to use more and more fertilizers and pesticides, it is one of the reasons that depleting soil microbial health. So these things go hand in hand together. Soil microbial health as well as organic carbon. Though the organic carbon is there, though the nutrients are there, but if the farmers are utilizing chemical fungicides and antibiotics into the soil, this is now rampant in Indian agriculture. One can see the graph of application of soil fungicides into the soil. This is going on increasing, and that is one of the major reasons that is uh, harming the soil microbial health. And that depleting soil microbial health, further inactivating the resources, limiting the nutrient uptake. Then again, the soil microbial health, besides nutrient use efficiency, besides nutrient utilization, nutrient transport, it is one of the important thing in the resilience against climate change. It is an important thing and one of the first line of defense against pests and pathogens. So if we don't maintain that, if we are rampantly using antibiotics, rampantly using chemical fungicides, and without any recommendation, now it is because they see it's a kind of business and the pushing things forward onto the ground, and the farmers are completely illiterate about the practices. So agrochemical literacy is one of the important factor over here. That means, for example, we are working in with the farmers onto the ground, analyzing the samples and delivering them precise applications. And the priority, we deliver them the biologicals, and then we go for the chemical reagents based upon the ETL level, based upon the infestation or the infection perspective. So here, the biologicals must be there in the package of practice. They should be preferentially used, and then the chemicals be followed. But in our case, we are doing completely indifferent. Uh, Either if we ask any government official to have a discussion about the organic farming, and if you might attend, or anybody might attend the training of government officials. Those are doing extension work for the organic farming perspective or the integrated approach. Even the university documentation, what they address in terms of soil microbial health, you prepare Jivamrut and deliver it into the soil. Yeah, that's the blunder we are making. Why we must integrate the science with the regenerative agriculture, but it doesn't mean that Jivamrut is going to work. That it is delivering pathogens, multiplying the pathogens, not only plant pathogens but also animal and human pathogens. What they've been asking: use eggs, use fish waste into that. Uh, you can use of fish waste, use of eggs and other things, and some kind of organic resources what farmers have. This is multiplying salmonella, right? One of the devastating thing, multiplying E. coli, and what we are going to deliver it further. So one case what we have studied in Solapur district, which is known for the pomegranate um, cultivation, the farmers were facing bacterial blight issues. What we have identified in that was one of the strain of a pseudomonas, not an xanthomonas, which is a major cause of bacterial blight, but it was a pseudomonas. And what was the source of that pseudomonas? It was their jivamrit. So these things need to be taken into consideration. We need to integrate the science-based biologicals there. Then they will be able to contribute into the soil microbial health and the soil building perspective. What we need for the residue-free agriculture, what we need for the sustainable agriculture. So they will reduce the production cost. They will further reduce the application of chemicals. So the journey of health or the soil health starts from the agrochemicals literacy. Yeah, as sir has also mentioned, one thing that is a common interception or the perception of everyone that biological works slowly. But I'm not in agreement with that. They don't work slowly. They work naturally. And here, appropriate strain, appropriate timely application, and implementation of them into the appropriate package of practice delivers the yield. And now we have the farmers associated with all the grapes, all the pomegranates, all the vegetable like exotic vegetables too, have been completely taken onto the biologicals for the pest and pathogen control. So likewise, this is related further with the soil microbial health and other resources. So what we have to do, we have to combine package of practices. We have to go accordingly. We need to initiate measurement of soil microbial health. We have been only analyzing NPK and other resources. But what if there is no digestive system for the soil to uptake the nutrients? There is no system available to transport the nutrients. There is no system available to protect the plant from abiotic stress. So all these system is or the first line of defense of the plant. All these system is soil microbial health that must be addressed before cultivation, along with the what we can say NPK and other nutrients. So the things will go hand in hand, and that will be able to promote the sustainable agriculture, regenerative practices, and that will further lead to the aggressive promotion of biologicals. So like PM Pranam and other schemes must be integrated with the assessment of the soil health assessment with the help of biologicals, then demonstration of the perspectives. As we have been putting thousands of crore rupees, government is putting thousands of crore in natural farming, organic farming, then the bioresource laboratories, a number of things have been getting implemented. What the labs do, they only go for the Bioprime preparation, nothing else. So likewise, if we go with the technicalities, if we deliver it to the package of practice with the science-based innovations like what Bioprime is doing, like what Indigo is doing, like what we are doing, and many other industries are doing, and we should go through the assessment, the impact assessment. So there should be some kind of impact assessment for regenerative agriculture. There should be some kind of impact assessment for organic agriculture, for natural farming, and that must be informed of soil microbial health because it is the best. It is the soul of all those practices. So accordingly, soil microbial health plays an important role, and that is again proportionately related to the reduction in production cost, improvement into the yield, producing the residue-free yield, and then also uh, sustainability. So all these things go hand in hand along with the package of practices. Biologicals are not there is an insect infestation and you apply the biologicals. They must be integrated as a package of practice. So if the package of practice is there, the one is not going to face any kind of infestation further. And if it occurs due to some changing environmental conditions, then the chemicals must be avoided. So that should be the policy matter further or the extension perspective from the government agencies too, along with the industry. Thank you.
No, I totally agree with you. Like, I think natural or zero budget natural farming, it has done far more damage to the overall agriculture ecosystem than anything else. First of all, the consistency of Jivamrut, right? Uh, if I forget something, right, गुड़ की जगह बेसन ज़्यादा डाल दिया, बेसन की जगह गुड़ ज़्यादा डाल दिया, right? Microbes they need the best environment to propagate themselves. And then you'll find that, like, because you are having inconsistent input, you have inconsistent output, and eventually you'll be surprised. More than 90% of farmers I have engaged for past 4 to 5 years who have got into the ZNBF, they have actually left the ZNBF and they have left it with very bad taste in the mouth, and they say that actually all this biological doesn't work. So unfortunately, what we have done is that because of the non-scientific, I would say, jhola chap, like, doctors are there, right? There are MD medicine, and then there are jhola chap doctors. So these jhola chap doctors for agriculture, they have tarnished the doctor itself. So now the biological itself get tarnished because people start saying the chemical base is better because we tried ZNBF and it doesn't work because of the reason you talked about. Going back to Renuka, this the trust deficit among the farmers, right? What are the, like, the challenges you have seen on ground, right? Whether it is within the ecosystem, in your distributors, or whether you are talking about at the level of the farmers, right? Which you find that, like, is stopping or reducing the adoption, and very difficult for, like, to create that level of trust with the farmers.
There definitely has been a trust deficit. I mean, earlier also we discussed that how before the regulatory approvals, biologicals were a vehicle to sell either PGRs or sometimes even insecticide pesticides. And that created a huge trust deficit with the farmers. Along with a largely mindset that biologicals or bio-based products, the retailers have, that this is a place where we want to derive margins from. So there's a trust deficit, and there's a compounding behavior from the retail or the trade side that pushes probably not the best of products to the farmers. And that has kind of, created or earlier had created an environment where the farmers did not really understand what am I gaining out of the biologicals that are being recommended to me. But slowly over the years, especially now that the regulatory has also come in, and a lot of other startups, people like my co-panelists here who are working in this sector for a long time, repeated, reproducible results that are shown on the field, consistent hand-holding with the farmers where field after field, season after season, farmers are seeing that, okay, this time also I am getting the same kind of results. When the conditions are bad, despite that, I am getting the same kind of results. If there is any kind of climatic vagaries, not only I'm getting the same kind of results, probably I'm getting better kind of results. So this consistent work on the field, I think, is the only common thread, and the panelists here would agree that unfortunately there isn't an alternative to that. So we have to put ourselves on the ground. We have to demonstrate our product. We have to do that season after season so that that seeing is believing kind of approach, the farmers are able to take. And it goes a long way also, because then, there's a demand that is created. It's not a product that is pushed because the trade has better margins, because the commerce or the commercials are better for the retailer, but it is being sold in the market because genuinely there's a demand. And that kind of, environment ultimately is very good for biological adoption by the farmers, the brand building, the image or the perception that the entire biological sector ultimately has.
One more question to you, Renuka. Like, you've been, I would say, pretty technical, right, in your approach and your education and capabilities. Now, when we talk about chemicals, like, they are very specific to the agroclimatical zone. They are specific to the crop. Generally, biologicals are sold as a, like, one shoe fits all. Uh, is that a reality?
It's a yes and no, because ultimately for biologicals, there is so many sectors, subsections, so many formulations, so many compositions that ultimately, go and define what a biological is. So if we talk about something as humic acids or fulvic acids, which no matter what your soil is, no matter what your crop is, ultimately go and do the same kind of function, which is soil restoration and increasing soil organic carbon. So that result will be, consistent no matter where. Same thing goes for protein hydrolysis, which is building blocks. So no matter what the crop is, they require the same kind of amino acids. So they will definitely take up those amino acids in their regular functioning. Now, how that result manifests depends upon what is the exact percentage, what is the exact composition. So there is a little bit of difference and variation between different kind of companies and different kind of products out there. So the answer is broadly yes, because biologicals per se, especially when we are talking about botanicals, when we are talking about humic fulvic acids, protein, hydrolysates, amino acids, etc., work on physiology processes which are common. The answer is no when we're talking about microbes, because microbes and plants have a different kind of relationship. Certain plants like certain microbes, certain plants don't get along with certain kind of microbes. So there we definitely have to be soil specific, we have to be crop specific, and there, then we need strains which are able to survive in different kind of environments, or we need consortia where different kinds of microbes can be bundled together so that we can then sell it over a broad acreage or broad area or different kind of crops. So it's a tricky answer and a very nuanced probably way to look at it. I don't think it's a black or white kind of a scenario.
No, I totally agree. And this is also what is the reason I raised this thing with you, Renuka, was that this is what also farmers start seeing it. And they are very simple in there when they take a buying decision, right? वो सोचते हैं कि लाइन ये टॉनिक है सब में चलता है तो that means it would not be having efficacy, right? I need milk, I don't need a Complan or a Bonvita, right? My kid needs milk. Similarly, my plant needs something which is very specific to my plant. And then the retailer also, like, they have the understanding of at least agrochemicals, which will at least work for a specific crop. Biological, they go blank. And so when the question comes to even that, they are not able to become the first level of extension. In India, the first level of extension is the, like, the shopkeeper, right? Retailer. And for them, it has also become complex. So I think maybe some messaging who are, I would say, biological companies will have to work out, maybe selling the same humic acid, but maybe having a different package for a vegetable crop, different package for a field crop, or a different package for a specific type of fruit. I'll go to you, Vikasji. So Vikasji, like, the same thing, like, what I asked Renuka, right? While we understand that the structure and the way the biological functions is very different from agrochemicals. But at the same time, there is a specific mindset of farmer when they make a buying decision. And eventually, irrespective of the regulation, irrespective of everything, whatever you do, that the final bottle has to be purchased by the farmer, right? He need to get that level of trust in when he's buying. How we are able to, what should be the way actually we should message it in a way that actually farmers see a trust?
So, no, so the message is very crisp and clear, that is need of hour, and no, to make other things work. We have been pushing most of the time that they have to be enablers, but we have to move from enablers to making them feel that these products are must to have in the current scenario in which they have tried urea, DAP to the level, but the things are not moving in the way they would have moved. The genetics are not able to perform in the best way. So we have been working out seed nourishment sort of a thing, where if we give a seed nourishment and the biologicals are made to apply at the right time, they have shown visible results and demarcation on the ground. So no, to get the trust, my strong lever is displaying it time and again. And no, that is the way they will start adopting. I am still a strong believer. They understand it. They understand the need of having good organic, high organic matter soil. But it needs a sincere hard work and commitment to work with them, because the path is not so easy to we are not in a process to undo what chemical has helped us reach, but we are here to do something which the next leg of journey would belong to, where the balance between the chemical and biologicals can really bring in something. And that is what we need to teach farmer. We are a company which are working on sustainable agriculture. We have a portfolio which is of alternate, but we don't push them to change to alternate. It has to be slow and steady, where visualization is the way to move forward. You have to make them feel, realize that it has worked, and then only they will start buying into the whole argument of how it will move. So it has been, for us, it has been very clear. Visualize, demonstrate, visualize, and hammer it again and again to make a feel that this is working. I'm a strong believer it is not about cost benefit. It is always in a positive side. When you use biologicals, other things start moving. Your ecosphere starts moving. So benefits are always there. It's additionality over what you are earning from chemicals. So we have been able to prove it. And I believe all the organizations that are working are making great effort. But again, it's a time-taking journey. So demonstrate, visualize, and hammer it again and again so that he starts believing in the story. No,
Now,
even
again, next,
even to
yeah.
add to it, I recall I worked with many people who were there. I was not there. Unia was launched. It was pretty, either not born or maybe early days. But I recall them telling me that though even urea was to be thrown in the night, and they used to run away after 3 days or 4 days. They used to come and show that this is the way it has performed. नहीं तो वो बोलते थे ये white दाना पड़ा हुआ है, what is this stuff? They would not allow them to apply if they would have given them directly. So if something which is now the must need item was promoted in that manner by visualizing, maybe this is the only way our farmers would believe it.
No, I totally agree. In fact, now the farmer is ready to take dandas of police, right, to get that 1 bag of urea, right? They're paying for it and still they are ready to do that. And maybe to certain extent, I'm thinking the subsidies from the government also, that played a very important role, because farmers start thinking that if I'm spending 100 rupees, somebody else is also paying 60 to 70 rupees. So they see it as a calculation that 70 rupees I am getting from someone else, irrespective of how good it is for them or not. Sometimes I've seen that soil so leased, still they are because urea is the must, they'll put it. One more question, how influential could be the universities? Because, for example, when you visit certain niche areas, for example, Himachal apples, right? They would not even put anything in their orchids until unless university at Noni, right? We will give them a direction. So do you think we need to have a more engagement? And I found that majority, whether it is Datiwada or Anand or Noni, right? The engagement of the biological community with them is not to the level where actually, you'll find that any product release, the people will rush to them, right? They would say that, sir, please, isko aap apne na 500 practices mein dal dijiye. And they would try to fasten that process. In biological, it is not that approach, which I've seen, maybe in other state, even TNSU, I've seen that not too many biological companies they are pushing. They just go because of the regulatory clearances. They are not going that please add into your parcel of practices. It is more of compliance rather than actually using them as a marketing tool. Even that could be looked at.
I think it is very important element for and it has to start with high value crops. So I have worked with NRC to recommend mycorrhiza and NRC pomegranate, and they have it in their parcel of package and practices to add mycorrhiza and as for Aspergillus niger AN27. Because once they started recommending, those pomegranate farmers are very aligned to university. Similar thing is for grapes. Similar thing is for J&K, where cost recommends, people follow it. So if IIHR, Indian Institute of Vegetable Research, those are the people who Spices Board, those are the people, Tokloi for that matter. These are the institutes which really have an impact on farmers' decision making. So if we start from there, for other crops, things will follow, because you have to set examples with high margin crops. So for me, institutes are the great way and one of the best for high value crops where farmer have huge trust. For export also, institutes are the great thing, because you need certifications that these are residue free. They may not add to the minimum residue level that are permitted. So APEDA plays a significant role, Spices Board. So these are they are the key pillars, and they should not be used only for regulatory compliances. They should be used for tough data generation. They may charge big, but how does institutions work? We will have to see to it, and how government will support it. That is also be seen, but I strongly believe the other big and important thing is, which you started by mentioning, that most of the corporates in chemical sectors have started looking at biologicals. They can make a big impact by forging right tie-ups, because they may not have a strong R&D, but companies which are into biologicals are science driven. They have a huge R&D. So not taking them as competitor, but building designs with them, working with them, and that meeting their network demand can really make it much more impactful, because they have been there. So a person from Corteva goes and say, we have brought in this product, the farmer would still be willing to try it out, because he has a huge goodwill because of whatever they have done with Coragen, or no, Pioneer has done with mustard and that all. So no, another big lever institutes for obviously for parcel and practices, but B2B business or partnering with big corporates who are looking at biological alternatives can be also a great way to move forward in this direction.
No, I totally agree with you. And in my engagement with the agrochemical companies, see, they are having a huge network, right? So one thing is pushing their product, and that network can be leveraged, right, as a revenue generation opportunity. Even if you don't want, where actually, like, you become, I would say, a subsidiary, or you license your product to them. But there can be a good possibility of marketing and distribution arrangement and agreements with them. And I would like, any of the startups or any of the innovators who are working or looking at this webinar, please reach out. We'll be more than happy to connect you with some of the largest distribution points and marketing points. And they also, the teams are pretty well equipped to understanding the mindset of the farmers, right? Now, creating your own team and putting money there, I would say that put money in a agriculture university, get into parcel of practices, take that to a large distribution setup, ask them to market with you, right? You'll have far more less trouble, right? Then actually, like, trying to build team, going and slogging it out and creating distribution network and the messaging and all that. So I think that that could be a way forward. And I don't want to mention companies, but you can always look at, like, some of the top three, four, five pure biological companies in India, and you'll find that they were not able to scale to that level because of those small things. They have not done it. While there are companies which are who piggybacked on, like, the SMLs or the buyers better life farming initiatives, and they have been able to have a better access for sure. Going to you, Chakra, your views on the same point, right? Last mile access to the farmers. I think pure distribution strategy can we leverage the existing networks, and importance of agriculture universities. So you're on mute.
So we are present in the ASEAN countries as well as in India. So each country has its own adoption. Like because the biological innovation or the bioinnovation, it's worked differently in Indonesia. Say the big plantations, right? It comes back to the demo kind of a thing. See, we are working with the one of the biggest palm oil estate in Indonesia, which has about 4 lakh acres. So to commercialize the alternative to the chemical fertilizer approach, it took us 4 years to me. Because it's like, when we came out with this innovation, we have gone to the people like, it's a different approach, the large plantations, they go through a rigorous evaluation because of the requirement, because everybody has to tick it. But then end of the day, when once you scale up, it becomes very big. Okay, so that's the stage we are with the plantations. When it comes to the the retail model, see, we want to drive the concept of safe food, or say affordable organic food for all, residue free safe food. This kind of concept in the retail outlet we cannot convey. Other way, what we are doing is, in the retail concept, it's pick and choose, what is compatible with the existing model. They pick and choose. Still there is a scope to push the compatible biologicals with the existing the retail model. We have also chosen the segment like the connecting the FPOs, then the microfinance bank, and then the buyback. This is where we are able to push the whole package practice, from the soil health, in terms of the disease and the pest management, everything as a package practice. We are able to push that. So there is not one strategy works. You have to take the multi-pronged strategy in India, and of course, like we also work in the countries like Philippines, where the government itself is initiating the process of reduction of chemical fertilizers. In those countries, when they do the trial, and when the government takes up the policy and push the biologicals, it practically goes to the larger the community of the farmers. So it's like, in India, that's a problem. thousands of people, thousands of companies, which product works better, which product doesn't work. So everybody says my product works. So there is no, what do you say, the validation happening in a, the third party scale. So it's a different, like in India, we are even successful in the plantations, like as someone saying, you need to work with the, the research institute. Like if you want to enter the tea estate, everybody want Upasi in South, it has to be approved kind of a thing. So it's like once we got this Upasi, we are able to access 25 estates in the Northeast also. So it's a multi-pronged strategy to scale up this biological initiatives, so that of course we have to work with the B2B model also, because many of the people, they don't have the product, but they want to use your technology. The problem with that is, the again it comes compatible. You are giving the technology to the B2B model, whether it fits into the strategy promoting the along with the chemical fertilizer, we don't know. You might get the business in terms of scalability, but what you want to push, the it's like soil health, gut health, or the the in the larger, the community health. It may not go if the belief of what do you say, the sustainability is not there, particularly in the biologicals.
Perfect.
What do you?
Satyamji, to you, again, your model has been engaging with multiple stakeholders and create a project sort of environment, and where multiple stakeholders are involved. How difficult, or I would say easy, it is to work with those model where you create your own infrastructure, you create your own I would say project, and then make the world see that project, and then work on scaling those projects and multiplying those projects.
I don't know. Well, I'm getting it. Your voice is coming intermittent. Is it only for me, or
Yeah,
calls
Satyamji,
get intermittent? I don't know.
it was to you, because you have taken a little bit. Am I audible to you, sir?
Yeah, now you're audible. Yeah, okay. It was
Right. I think that.
intermittent. I was getting intermittent. Your voice.
Yeah. So I'll just repeat the question, because you are having a different approach, right? Unlike the others, where you build a project, you have a different stakeholders. There are government participates into it. There is a FPOs who participate into it. You put collectives into it, and then create a project, and then try based on that success of the whole ecosystem, try to replicate either through multiple projects or making that project bigger. How do you see that approach working, and are there some learning which other stakeholders can also understand and look at that as one of the viable go-to-market model?
So thank you, Deepak. I think we looked at the barriers of entry. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible. You're audible, but intermittently, I think internet issue is there.
Yeah. So is it my end, or because I was getting others very clearly? Yeah. So yes, what we did was, the thing is, we realized that biologicals. I don't know.
Yeah, you're audible, sir. You're audible.
Is there? Yeah. So what I realized is biological is not a silver bullet. Biologicals have to work in a complete ecosystem for. So therefore, many a times biologicals are being spoken about like a silver bullet into this entire system, and we saw all the barriers of entry and the scaling of the biologicals, and therefore we took a systemic approach to this process, and we created our complete package of practice, wherein we don't use products of any other source or any other company. We have only 4 products, and it's a universal package of practice for all crops in all agroclimatic zones, and we have done it across more than 100 crops. We have gone to the gone to the hills in the northeast, in the north. We have gone to the plains. We have gone to the deserts, and we have gone to the coastal regions. Also in the Middle East area, Africa, and we have done enough amount of work with our just 4 products, wherein we have a biostimulant, a complete true blue biostimulant. We have a root consortia. We have a liquid organic fertilizer, and we have a, a, a decomposer which decomposes everything within within 15 days. Oh my God.
Yeah, perfect.
Sorry, am I?
Yeah.
Now I think, yeah. So it decomposes within 15 days. What we realized that between that window that we get between the harvest and the sowing, the next sowing, is very getting smaller and smaller. So what we created a very high quality decomposer, which decomposes any organic waste in within 15 days. And why composting is so important is because, like some other panelists also spoke about, that we put truckloads of manure and yet we are not getting results. The truckloads of manure is because they are not fully composted. In a fully composting system where it's gone through the process of your mesophilic, thermophilic, mesophilic, and maturation stage completely, wherein then all your pathogens, your toxins, your contaminants are neutralized. Your weed seeds are neutralized. Your heavy metals are passivized. Until and unless this process is complete, the compost cannot go. So you get a high quality organic matter and organic carbon into the soil. It improves the structure of the soil, and then you use a very high quality root consortia, which has got, again that is another issue with the Indian, like in the FCO. FCO doesn't allow for a consortia. FCO, each individual microbials have to be registered separately. So the you create because creating a consortia between a fungal and a bacterial consortia, beneficial fungal and beneficial bacterial consortia together, there is a golden ratio. There is a ratio between the fungal bacterial population that you need to create. That is a huge amount of development and scientific development that we need to do to give it to make it stable. And thereafter, you create the biotools we have used. So, and therefore, now that we have created the complete package of practice, we now take responsibility of the outcomes, because you have seen that everybody comes with their different products, and then the agronomist makes a very good package of practice, and if the outcomes are not proper, nobody is ready to take the blame. So here we are one of the few companies we are completely taking the responsibility of the outcomes, because when you use our package of practice for any growing of any crop, any trees, fruit trees, whether in the horticulture, agriculture domain, or agroforestry domain, plantation domain, you don't have to worry about, we take the responsibility of the outcomes. And hence, therefore, we felt that it is the regular channel sales is not going to work for us. And we said that we are going to create our own cluster. We call it rapid region. And the beauty of our protocol is the rapid region protocol. Like you have organic farming, you have natural farming, or you have regenerative farming, or you have synthetic, farming. We have created one farming, which is, we call it rapid region, accelerated regenerative farming. So there's no gestation in this. And in the first crop cycle itself, the yield goes up, the quality goes up, soil organic carbon does not degrade any further. It starts improving year on year in the first crop. So all the issues of transition from synthetic chemical agriculture to completely organic or natural process, that all the barriers of this thing we have been able to overcome. And because we are crop after crop, we have got the same, and we have done institutional trials and we have done farmer trials across the country, and of course internationally as well. And therefore, what we did was that we felt that to create the lighthouse effect, we have to create clusters, and we have to bring in all the stakeholders into the system, and for this because moment you get into agriculture, the government, you cannot just do it alone, because the government one of the biggest stakeholder in agriculture. So we took a systemic approach with all stakeholders in it. Of course, the primary stakeholders being the growers, the farmers themselves. And then we created this system, and we found the moment they started composting, and within 15 days it starts getting fully composted. They can feel that there is no smell in the compost. It is very light and fluffy. They can see the color change, and the farmers know when they have a good product in their hands. So the moment they see that compost, so they are now more and more they're getting interested, and they're doing it in bulk, and it is a very simple process. So another thing that we have created is that when during this transition, there are no we have not created a different processes. We are using the same processes as the conventional processes the farmers are used to. We are using drip irrigation, because again, organic nutrients generally cannot be given through drip irrigation, or cannot be through your drone spray, but because it clogs up the emitters and the nozzles and all. But we have created with our technology a system now, everything. So there is no new practice to be learned. We are using the same. We are doing the same foliar spraying. We are doing the same seed treatment, but not seed treatment with fungicide, but we are doing seed treatment with a biostimulant. We are doing the same root drenching. We are doing the same thing. So there is no new learning so you cannot to be had. So the transition becomes very, very easy. And another very critical thing is that artificially, the package of practice price of conventional agriculture has been reduced. So the urea and the DAP are the subsidies on them are 80 to 90%. So now basically the government is saying, I'll tie your hand and I will tie your feet, and now I will make you run. So you are creating on the one side, you are saying that you have to transition, and it is good for this thing. The farmers also know that you have got into this thing of law of diminishing returns, this vicious cycle. You have to convert this vicious cycle into a virtuous cycle. But the question is that the government is not allowing you to do that, because they are subsidizing this thing, and then so then when you do the cost benefit ratio, it is lopsided, because you have reduced the cost artificially of your synthetic chemical agriculture. And yet, because we are doing frugal, you brought the word that frugal system. So I told you earlier that the requirement of nutrients are so little for high growth, is that we found out if you do it with this natural process. So, and we found that we're able to match even those artificially subsidized prices of, and we are going to match the cost. And in the first crop cycle itself, we are getting higher yield and higher quality. And soil organic carbon year on year, the first year itself, you stop the degradation, and the soil organic carbon is improving. And hence we found that the question is the cluster based. We have to create this system so that the lighthouse effect happens, and hence the adoption happens at scale.
Perfect. So now the last word to you, Vipinji. So we have heard about everyone. If I have to ask, what our ecosystem need to do to make biological, I would say, vision or dream a grand success when we maybe have similar conference 10 years down the line. We'll be having multiple conferences like that. But let's assume after 10 years we are meeting, what we need to do today. And also, I think you raise your hand to share some pertinent issue. Please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Deepak. Just a small, Satyam, you just said that there's no consortia under the FCO, right? My understanding is right?
Yes, that's what
Okay, so
my
just a slight correction, sir. With all due respect, the
Yeah.
fertilizer control order has got consortia permitted. There are already 2 consortia that have been registered, and there is no disembarment or no barring any company from generating data on consortia and applying to the FCO for their particular approvals. So this is just one clarity I
So
wanted to give you, sir.
Oh, sorry, it's
Yeah.
my
So, I mean,
mistake
sir,
because
my core
it's
competency is
good
only
that you have
regulatory. So please pardon me for being
Yeah.
honest, but I thought I'll
Yeah.
bring it into
No,
context.
great. Thanks a lot, Vipin for clarification. So,
Yeah.
When I was going,
even Satyamji, you are having one problem solved at least in this roundtable itself. So, Vipinji, your last comment on what India need to do
yeah,
today.
See, I'll say we are far ahead from the world in terms of our technologies and the kind of research being done. The only thing is that our research and innovation is not able to see the day of light, the light of day. Now, if we can pick up some kind of strategies or studies based on what Europe is doing and all, because if you see, all those European companies are actually on a buying spree of Indian companies, and that's what exactly I believe Vikas or somebody said, that it's a I mean, larger companies have got the ability to bring it down to the ground level due to their marketing chains. But let us not forget that market chain alone has taken place in the last 50 years for even the agrochemical industries and biologicals, reasonably younger, I'll say, since it's picking up for the last now 10 years, if I'm not mistaken. So things are going on a thing. But the only thing is that we need to have a better understanding and a better legislation that can commonly have under its ambit the biologicals. As I said, that there is a very thin line demarcating the expression of interest of a biological in that particular field. If I may quote an example of Brazil, so Brazil has done wonders. They've come up with a separate legislation on biologicals. So on the same guidelines, on the same guidelines, probably we can work across. And as you said, it is a continuous process. And like the gentleman was saying that microbial companies or biological companies slightly tend to shy away from getting their products included in the package of practices of various state agriculture universities, ICR institutes, and all. That is more or less probably due to the vast cost involved, probably, and the time involved. But yes, the benefit looks upon the very fact that if your product is reflecting in a package of practice of any state or any institute for a particular crop, it definitely gives you a way forward or a cataloging your product to reach the actual stakeholders at that particular kind of point. So that's my
Excellent. So,
takes.
excellent. So I would like to conclude with a lot of optimism, right? There are large companies which are there who are keen to get involved. That's a good news. So at least Renuka would be happy that the funding winter would not be as cold for biological at least. If Indian markets don't adapt themselves, there is the rest of the world who would be very keen to take Indian technology forward, whether it's the European Union or whether it is
Yeah.
North America. At the same time, I also believe that in today's agriculture, right, specifically in India, biology, we can see it as an infrastructure of resilience. We are already seeing the challenges about resistance. We are seeing challenges of efficiency in agrochemical, and biology can give a new push to the agriculture sector. At the same time, Data and validation are key as a currency of trust. We have to ensure that whatever products we are putting in the market, right, they are trusted by our ecosystem players, including farmers, retailers, and even the government. And last but not the least, policy should not start becoming a bottleneck or a roadblock, but something which accelerates the sector. With that, I thank all my panelists for being there and sharing their views. It was really enlightening for my audience. And as I said, this is the third in the series of 4. Tomorrow, we'll be talking about technology and mechanization. And looking forward to see you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.